Rabbi Wilhelm, Shalom Aleichem. I'm so surprised to see you.
What are you so surprised?
I mean, I heard of your great davening on Yom Kippur.
How was Tag?
The B'chiyas, the Kavanas. I mamish thought you're going to have a Kalas HaNefesh, and here you are. You actually made it.
How was your Yom Kippur, your davening?
We're going to find out, like we said before.
Okay, so I think
Mitzad me, I was really inspired. Mitzad the Eibishter, I hope you also was inspired.
I'll tell you, I think it all depends on how you said Al Chait. There's two ways how people say Al Chait. One time, everybody, we hit your heart, near your heart, yeah? But it's...
Can you show me again how you hit your heart?
Sometimes the heart gets confused, and he thinks it's a collet. It's, hey, do it again, do it again. If you don't hit it hard, the heart gets gets egged on. Hey, we like it. This sin. So if you did it with b'chiyas, so you did it with heart, it says Al Chet Shechatanu L'Fanecha B'Vidui Peh. What does that mean? We say things and we don't mean it. So hopefully we all meant it. The Eibishter was Mekabel our tefillas, and every Yid will have a Shana Tov and Mesukah. But today is Parshas Hazinu. Today is Parshas Hazinu. Parshas Hazinu is a very scary parsha. A very funny parsha also. I have a question to ask all those, all the listeners. At the end of every parsha, it says a siman of how many psukim there are. And this week's parsha is 52 psukim. What's the siman? Kelev. Now, in the Art Scroll Chumash, they have Moshe Feinstein. David Feinstein has explanation every week. It didn't talk to me. I'm asking all the listeners from the Parshas Hazinu, which is the Shira Hazois, which is the Rebbe writes. The Parshas Hazinu is the 32nd perik of Devarim. It's the lev, it's the heart of the whole Chumash Devarim. 52 psukim, siman kelev. Come on. Somebody give me a good answer, please. Anyways, so in the parsha, it's very scary, and it's mekubal that everything that can happen from the time it was said until Achas Hayomim is hinted in Parshas Hazinu. There's a very famous story to Ramban, and there's a sikha from the Rebbe Avner, a whole story, beautiful. But everything is hinted, the ups and downs. Now, it's a scary parsha, so I have two short stories, lessons that we should learn from this scary parsha. Story number one, I just heard this, a true story that happened. There was a kid that's a little antsy, and his father fell asleep, so he took the keys of the car from his pants pocket and took a ride. He took a ride with the car, and luckily it was in a Walmart parking lot, and the cop sees a car driving zigzags, so the cop stops the kid. Oh, the kids became all confused. What am I going to do now? And the cop stops him, license and registration, and he sees that he's a 10-year-old kid, a 12-year-old kid. He says, "What's going on?" He says, "My father's in the store. My father's in the store. I just drove in the parking lot." Okay, but the cop was no fool, and the cop says to the kid, "I'll wait over here. Go call your father." What's he supposed to do now? So he goes into the store, and luckily it was one of these Hasidic places where Walmart was loaded with Jews. And he goes over to a Hasidic Yid and he says, please, I have this crisis. I have a cop waiting outside, and blah, 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 blah. You know the story. So the Hasidic Yid says, no way, my license, my insurance. But the kid was really begging, he was really troubled. So the father said, okay, I'll listen. So he comes out, and he's thinking, what's he do? He said, this is my... So he comes out and he starts, right away, he opens the door from Walmart, he starts screaming. How many times did I tell you not to use my keys, not to drive my car? It's dangerous. That's he's screaming like a meshugana. The cop sees that the person is screaming at his kid. He said, "Oh, okay, thank you. Just make sure it doesn't happen again." What's the lesson of the story? If it's a stranger, usually strangers don't scream at a strange kid. It's only a father screams at his kid. So at the same time, when you hear Hazinu and you hear all the ups and downs, and the downs, Rahman al-San, remember it's because he's your father, and that's why he's your father. He's able to scream at you. You don't go and chastise and educate some other kids off the street. Now we are also in the 4 days that are between.
I thought we were close. You never scream at me.
Yeah, and we are in the 4 days between Sukkot, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. Everybody knows that yesterday was called Guts Namin because. For two reasons. A, the 4 days symbolize the 4 bases of Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. And B, You gotta take a breath.
Yeah,
B,
take
because
a sip of coffee.
B, because
take it well, relax. The camera's not rolling, don't worry.
After many days,
1 second.
After many
take
days
a deep breath.
not saying
relax.
Hakel HaKadosh, we again say Hakel HaKadosh. I thought about it because we didn't say Hakel HaKadosh. We're so excited to say Shem Hashem, not Yud Kei Vav Kei. Which Shem Hashem? You start saying Hakel HaKadosh. You're saying it's the Dalet Oisius of Hashem Hashem, and you're calling it Guts Namen, and yet the excitement is that you're back to saying Hakel HaKadosh. So I thought about it. This is what we shouted at the end of Yom Kippur: Hashem Hu Elokim. The Rachmim and Gevurah. So you always have to remember it's the same. It comes from the same source. It comes from our Father, the Eibishter. Now, hopefully it's Rachmim. Sometimes the Gevurah, as I mentioned, the rebuke is also only because He's your Father. I did see a nice shot that just like it's Shem Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and we're saying Hakel HaKadosh, this season is also Shem Adnai, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Why? The Nun is the 50 days from Tisha B'Av until Yom Kippur. The Yud is the Aseres Yemei Tshuva. The Daled is the 4 days that is between Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And the Aleph is the first day of Sukkot, Rishon, the first day, and it's the first day that we're back to normal now. Ben Zion, the Gemara says, and now we have no time to do mischiefs. Now between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, it's all about mitzvahs. That's why Rishon L'Cheshbon Avonos, the first time you have to breathe and God forbid think about or falling is only once the dust settles. I know you're running from here to build your sukkah with duct tape and wire and all that.
Scotch tape.
It has to withhold the Ruach Mitzuyah, so be careful.
But
anyways, everybody should have a good Shabbos, and all the preparation for sukkah should be good. And remember, these are auspicious time. The last thing, the Dubna Maggid says a beautiful part of this week's parsha. And I'll introduce this with a mashal. The mashal is that a person came to a psychiatrist, says, I got a big problem. He came to a friend, a lawyer, said, a big problem. He came to a lawyer. What's the big problem? I owe so many people money, and I don't know how to get out of it. So the lawyer says, listen, the only thing I can tell you is, anytime they come to your door to collect, make yourself like a mishugana. Start dancing, start walking. When you do that, hopefully they'll have Rahmanas on you. Sure enough, next day somebody comes up, knocks on the door, and he starts blah, 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 starts dripping all over. So the guy says, oh boy, he leaves. 1, 2, 3 people like that, and they all left and their advice worked. A week later, the lawyer comes knocking on the door because he wants to collect his bill for his service. And he starts dancing, says, Mister, don't forget that I'm the one that gave you the advice. So the Dubna Maggid says, from this week's parsha, you forgot. The Eibishter is the one that made you. The Eibishter is the one that created you. The Eibishter is who gave you what you are. He's your Father. Don't forget Him. We have that in mind, especially in this auspicious time. We will only have good. Kol Tov Selah.
1 second. A word for our sponsor. Who's this over here?
We don't say names, but Fuse. Yeah, Fuse is a very good thing to give yourself more chayas, more light, more energy.
So if you want to infuse yourself with a working home, with an electric home, call this number. Okay. Yossi Wolfson.
It's
the
free,
best
it's free
electrician in New York City.
Free advertising.